Okay, we've been talking about Joseph, and last week he interpreted the dreams, and he told the cupbearer, when you get to Pharaoh's, tell him about me, because I shouldn't be here in prison. But the cupbearer completely forgot. 2 years later, the king of Egypt, who we call Pharaoh, which is actually Egyptian for the great house, not self-centered at all. I guess when you're a king of a country that believes the king is a god, you can be self-centered. Anyway, he had a dream. And when he woke up in the morning, or in his dream, he saw 7 big fat cows get out of the river Nile and come and start grazing in the pasture lands. Then he saw 7 skinny, scrawny, horribly underfed cows come out of the river, and they ate the big fat cows, but still looked just as skinny and scrawny as before they ate the other 7 cows. Then he saw a stalk of wheat. Now our picture is wrong. It shows corn. It should actually be wheat. He saw a stalk of wheat with 7 heads, and that in itself is unusual. Wheat usually only has 1 head per stalk, but it had 7 heads around it, and they were big and fat and just full of grains of wheat. And then there grew up 7 more heads of wheat that looked like they had been in the east wind for just a hot, drying wind for their whole life. They were scrawny and thin and hardly any grain, and they ate the other 7 heads. I know it's weird enough to have 7 skinny cows eat 7 fat cows. It's even weirder to have 7 heads of grain eat 7 heads of grain. They don't even have mouths. At least cows have great big mouths. But that was his dream, and when he woke up, he was upset. I would be too. Because that's a really, really weird dream. So he called all of his counselors to him, all of his wise men. He told them his dream, and they could not tell him what his dream meant. Well, in the middle of all that, the cupbearer said, "I'm a dummy. Pharaoh, you remember 2 years ago when you were mad at me and at the baker, and you ended up executing the baker, but you put me back to my job? Well, the baker and I had both had dreams while we were in prison, and this young man interpreted our dreams, and exactly as he interpreted them, that's exactly what happened." So they sent for Joseph. He came out, he took a bath, he shaved, he got all prettied up. He came before Pharaoh. Pharaoh told him what the dream was, and Joseph said, "You know what, I can't interpret dreams. I just can't. But God can. And this is what God says your dream means. The 7 fat cows," it's actually one dream, it's the same thing, God repeated it twice to let you know he really means it. The 7 fat cows and the 7 fat grains of wheat, or heads of wheat, are the same thing. They are 7 plentiful years where the rain is going to come in just the right amounts at just the right time, and the land is going to produce food like we've never seen before. We're going to be rich. And then there's going to come 7 years that are going to be so deep a famine, so bad, that they will consume everything good from the good years, and still you won't ever know the good years even happened, because those years are going to be so bad, everything will be wasted away and destroyed. So what you should do, Pharaoh, you should look among all of your subjects, and you should find a wise man to put in charge of the country. See, Pharaoh didn't ask for advice, but Joseph's going to give it anyway. You should put a man in charge of the whole country, and you should tax the people at 20%, take 1/5 of everything that they grow, and put it away in the storehouses, so when the years of famine come, there will be plenty of food. Well, Pharaoh said, "Well, I can't think of anyone wiser and smarter than someone who can interpret dreams from God." So he gave Joseph his signet ring, He gave him his second-in-command chariot. Joseph was put in charge of the whole country, except Pharaoh was still boss, just like in Potiphar's house. Pharaoh was still the boss, but Joseph was in charge of everything. And they did tax the people, and they stored things up. The Bible says it got to the place they had so much stored up, they quit bothering to count it. They just had so much stored up. So you know how much you have, so you know how to ration it later on. And just an archaeological side note, one person said, every hole they find in Egypt, they label it a tomb and study it as if it's a tomb. But there's a number of big holes in Egypt they have discovered that are completely empty except for a few grains of wheat in the bottom. And there are some who speculate those may be the storage units that Joseph built to store the grain in for those years of plenty. Let's sing our song. Years of famine, I mean. Don't need to store it for plenty. Running over, my cup is full and running over. Since the Lord saved me, I'm as happy as can be. My cup is full and running over. Running over, running over. My cup is full and running over. Since the Lord saved me, I'm as happy as can be. My